Hello, I would like to welcome you to a new series. In this series, we are going to build a linear algebra library in C++. On top of this library that we are going to build applications, write algorithms, etc. In the first section of this video, I'm going to demonstrate what we are going to build. Even though the length of this video will not permit me to demonstrate the capabilities of the current state of our library, I am sure it's going to give us an idea and what to expect as the series progresses. In this current project, I'm importing 4 header files, and these are among the classes that we are going to create within this series. In the int main function, I'm creating an instance of a 2-dimensional matrix of 3 rows and 3 columns. I am currently running in debug mode, so I will hit F10 for Visual Studio to run the current line and move the execution to the next line. In the next line, I'm setting the first and the last values of matrix 1 to values of 3. In addition to that, I'm creating an instance of a new 2-dimensional matrix of 2 rows and 3 columns and setting it to a variable called mat2. Finally, I'm multiplying matrix 2 and matrix 1 and setting the results to equal to mat3. I will then move ahead and display the results on the console. As you can see, indeed, the first and the last value of matrix 1 were set to values of 3. Even though we did not set the other values, they were initialized by default to values of 1. However, you can change these values to suit your needs. In addition to that, there are other constructors in which a user can pass in a custom data for the matrix. I will also display the matrix 2 and the results of the matrix multiplication. And if you should multiply these two matrices with a calculator, this is the result that you are going to get. We are not going to limit ourselves to just 2-dimensional matrices. We can also create 3-dimensional matrices. So here I'm creating an instance of a 3 by 10 by 10 matrices, which means that we have 3 times of a 10 by 10 matrix. And I will also display this onto the console. It is nice to have a linear algebra library in C++ that is capable of performing basic arithmetic operations such as multiplication, addition, subtraction, just like we just demonstrated. But the current state of the library is not only limited to these basic operations. For instance, I would like to demonstrate how to utilize this library to solve systems of linear equations. And systems of linear equations are really important in scientific computing. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I indicated that we are going to build algorithms upon this framework. And for most algorithms that we are going to build, we will have to solve systems of linear equation, which is why it is important to include this within this framework. The systems of linear equations that we are going to solve in this video, it's much simpler, but it doesn't mean that what we are going to develop cannot be used to solve complex systems of linear equations. This is just for demonstration purposes. The systems of linear equations that we are going to solve are displayed right here. We are going to solve for the values of x and y. I will create an instances of these two classes, which are going to help us to solve these systems of linear equations. The second class in particular will enable us to read data from files, which means that in this series, we are not only going to focus on linear algebra, but we will also learn how to read data from files and how to arrange the data properly in memory and access these data. For example, the reader class has a function called readCSV that is able to read data from CSV files. The read data is arranged in such a way that it is easily accessible in memory. Displaying the read data on the console do not only display the data itself, but also the headers that were contained in the CSV file. It also shows information such as the number of rows and the number of columns of the data itself that was present in the CSV file. This CSV file contains the constants of the x and y variables and also the constants on the right hand side of the equal sign. I just added this CSV file to our project, so I'll double click on the CSV file for us to visualize the contents. And as you can see, the readCSV function was able to accurately read this data and displayed them on the console. We can also utilize operator functions that are implemented in the reader class to select specific columns of the read data. For instance, I will select the right hand side constants by passing in the constant z, which I set in the CSV file. I can also select multiple columns In this case, I will select the x and y constants by passing in a vector of strings containing the names x and y. Once I have selected the appropriate columns, I will also display them on the console. And as you can see, the columns were appropriately selected. In solving systems of linear equation, the left-hand side of the equation is inverted and multiplied to the right-hand side of the equation. And the result is supposed to give the values of the x and y variables that will satisfy these equations. So I will invert the left-hand side, which is the matrix x, y, and multiply it to the right-hand side, which is the matrix z. I will also display the results on the console. And if you were to solve these equations by hand or with a calculator, you should arrive to the same solution. I think this is a nice project to develop together. Not only are we going to develop a linear algebra library in C++, but I also believe this is a nice opportunity to get a good grasp of C++ programming and how to apply C++ programming in our various studies. So let's get right into it and start developing this library right from scratch in the next subsequent videos. If you like this video, kindly give it a thumbs up and also consider subscribing to the channel. You may also share this video with your colleagues to help promote the channel. Kindly also turn on the notification button so that you don't miss any future videos. With this, I thank you for your attention, and then I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.